Good evening and welcome to the Porsche 935 K3 USA Cup, presented by Sim Racing Online. We're at Portland tonight for 60 minutes of racing. 60 minutes. Should be action-packed. Looks like we have a full field today. Let's get through our introduction. So this is the second round of the championship. First round was a bit of a humdinger at Road America, but we're over at Portland International Raceway today in Oregon, which currently hosts the IndyCar series. But if you're new here, let's have a look at where we stand at the moment. So we've only done one round. We're going to be heading to Barber Motorsports Park for round 3. For round 4, we'll be at Laguna Seca, Road Atlanta round 5, and Sebring will be the last round on the 30th of March. This takes place every 2 weeks, alternating with the Sim Racing Online IndyCar Championship. But we are here at Portland tonight for some classic racing with a Porsche 935. So, as I said, it's a classic Porsche. This Porsche is a bit of a beast. It's a little bit hard to handle. A few of the racers last 2 weeks had a little bit of a tough time with reliability and just keeping the thing in the straight line, because it can be a bit of a beast. But you can see the stats of the machine there. But as I say, we are at Portland tonight. And Portland, a raceway, or a track rather, that is currently used, as I say, for the IndyCar series. It's also used for the NASCAR Xfinity series and the ARCA Maynard series, along with the Trans Am West Coast Championship. It has hosted Formula E and many other series in the past, even some AMA Superbikes. But apparently it's got 12 turns. The layout hasn't changed too much. The turn 1 chicane is going to be a little bit of a pinch point, so hopefully there are no accidents going through there this evening. So we've had our first round, so we have our championship order. So if we look at our championship standings at the moment, Robin Taylor was our first winner, and it was a dramatic finale to 2 weeks ago, where Robin Taylor was kind of sailing off in the lead. It was not over for second and third. Unfortunately, Bjorn Hagman made a mistake in the latter stages. I think in the last 2 laps of the race, and gave away second place to Barrett Eriksson. Nick Westy was indeed leading for quite a while, but unfortunately his engine went pop. So we saw his engine go up in a very big ball of flame, so hopefully they've got their their engine tuning a bit better this time. Their setup tweaks a bit better this time. So it looks like we have about 9 or 10 drivers in here tonight. As you can see them practicing in the background. So let's get down the track side and check out who's putting in the fast times. Let's put on all of the timing boxes so you can see who is who and what is what. Right, so at the moment let's have a look at Nick Westy putting in the fastest time of the practice session. Qualifying will take place at about 6 o'clock, which is in about 10 minutes, so these drivers are getting a bit leery coming out the corner there. You will find that a lot of people do practice their qualifying laps in the practice session, but you'll have some that will practice their race pace in practice. It does vary. So you see Nick Westy coming through that 4A and turn 5 into the left-hander at 6. And then hard braking zone down to 7 Now the drivers are going to need to get a good exit out of here, because one of the only passing places is going to be on long straights, one of which is the sweepers up here, and it does look like that Nick Westy has closed his radiator a bit too much there. Bouncing over the curbs, that's going to be very tough for a full pack of cars, but keeping it tidy in the last turn this time. Let's see what lap time puts across the line. This is a qualifying run, it looks like, and he's running very hard on his engine there, so that's a 108.8. As we see Tony Talviti, new to this series but not new to Sim Racing Online, just coming out of the pits. He did tell me that just pick a paint job that would be representative of his finish routes, so I picked the number 70. I mean, it is blue and white, but you'll have some weird and wonderful paint jobs for this series. See, Robin Taylor is currently out on track, last week's winner. He was very stable, no particular thrills or spills. There was a little bit of a mix-up in the grid last week, or 2 weeks ago. I believe Robin Taylor was actually on the front row of the grid, but he got shuffled back to the back of the field, but it didn't really make too much difference. He was able to come through the field and take the win by quite a significant margin. And he's purple in the second sector there, so fastest in the second sector. No smoking engine from Robin, so he puts in a 109.2. As we look at Thomas Johansson, actually the creator of this car mod. We are using Portland International Raceway, which is a standard Studio 397 track, but Thomas Johansson actually made this Porsche mod. So welcome, Thomas. This will be his first round in the championship, so we should know how to drive it, I would hope, because he created it. And he's, I believe he's a newcomer to the Sim Racing Online as well. Very famous paint job that you've seen in motorsport all over the place. The Jägermeister paint scheme, worn this time by Bjorn Hagman. He did come away with third. He didn't throw it all away, but I'm glad he was kicking himself, because it was in the final 2 laps that he spun off the road. I'm guessing that he probably felt a little bit under pressure, because I think Barrett Ericsson was catching and up to the last. So as I say, this is a 60-minute race. There is no mandatory pit stops. That's Barrett Ericsson. It's quite a short lap. It's just over a minute. 109 at the moment is the time to beat. Barrett Ericsson goes through the final few turns. Got to get a good exit out of here and try and stay away from that wall as well. That's going to be a bit of a pain. As we have a look at Rob Milliken. Rob Milliken's normally in the commentary booth, but he's taken to the track in a nice blue paint job. Goes up the back straight. So how about I actually take you through the field? So create a little thing to show you. So looking at Nick Westy at the moment, very quick driver. He's from the UK. He's from the team Black Cat Motorsports, and actually meant to pull up the stats and things. So if we have a look at Nick Westy's stats, He's taken part in, from what I can see from the stats, 88 events, as in that's probably 88 races. 26 first places, 20 second places, and 11 third places. And recent championships he's won. He won the WEC Championship in 2024, the Aptura Mac Court Group C Championship. He was also able to take the Porsche GT3 Flat 6 Championship and the LMP3 LM Trophy Championship. So very quick driver, always pushes the limits on setup. So if we go to our next driver, as I say, Bjorn Hagman is a newcomer to this series. I believe I've got the I believe I've got his nationality right, even being Finnish. There's a couple of Finnish drivers in this particular series. So this will actually be his second race in Sim Racing Online. He's not joined to a team at the moment, but hopefully he should be near the pointy end in that Jägermaster paint scheme. So our next driver on the list is Ken Jagger. Now Ken Jagger is one of the admins. Unfortunately we cut to a really bad moment when he's coming off the track there, but Ken Jagger is one of the admins at Sim Racing Online and currently driving for Bad Voices Racing. Ken Jagger has probably taken part in probably the most events, considering he runs some of the events here at Sim Racing Online. Taken part in 953. 953, and the championships, there are too many to to list. Let's just say there's 23 of them. So that's Ken Jagger. I always laugh because the crew chief always pronounces Ken Jagger as Ken Jogger, which is not right. So Rob Milliken, as I say, normally the broadcast booth, but Rob Milliken is now racing in this series. One of our, I think, 3 American drivers, at least in this series. We will be racing for Flying Crowbar Racing tonight. Only one driver in Flying Crowbar Racing in the series, unfortunately, so he's flying it solo. And we have Ed Jones for a Bad Voices Racing. Ed Jones is normally there or thereabouts. He strikes me as a thinking driver. I got outwitted by him in some of the WEC championships just on pit strategy. It was quite annoying, but Ed Jones is always there or thereabout. So if we have a look at Ed Jones's stats, or Edward Jones. So Ed Jones has done 923 events in Sim Racing Online. Another one of our participants from the US, and won at least 6 championships in Sim Racing Online. Barrett Eriksson. Looks like we're actually going out for qualifying, but I'll finish what I was going on with the introduction. So Barrett Eriksson, another one of our American counterparts. So all the drivers head out onto the track. Barrett Eriksson is a very fast driver, always there or thereabouts. He's taken part in 364 races in Sim Racing Online. Some of his recent championships have been in the Toyota GR Super GT4 Championship and the Super GT 500 Japan Championship. You'll normally see his name somewhere on the top 5. Then we have Tony Talviti. Now Tony Talviti is always a fast competitor. I'm always reminded that whenever I see what he quoted on an interview was that he just wants to win. It doesn't matter about points or anything, just wants to win, which I appreciate. I've had some good battles with Tony over the last couple of years. One of our Finnish participants. Hopefully he likes the paint job that I chose for him in this mod. And Robin Taylor, one of our participants from the UK. As we see him heading out on his outlap, due to complete his outlap and start his timed lap. Black Cat Motorsport, so teammate of Nick Westy. So can he get a win this time out? Bit of a nasty exit coming onto the straight there though. And as I say, our last driver is the maker of this Porsche mod. Thomas Johansson from Denmark. Not affiliated with any team just yet. So we have a look at who's out on track and who's putting in some good times. So Ken Jagger currently starting his lap through that nasty chicane. Those curbs are going to be a bit of a pain, I would imagine. But I think Nick Westy is on it. Coming through this last, he's really hanging the back out and really on the very limit of engine wear. Now, is he going to ease off this lap? Puts in a time of 109.206, which is the fastest from... Now, I think they got into the 108s for practice. As we see, Robin Taylor just complete his lap. 109.2. So, very comparable in lap time, but I think there's still more to do to get down to the 108s that they were in for practice. As we see a gaggle of cars coming through the last turn. Ken Jagger is one of them. Green in sector 1 and 2, personal bests. Across the line, he goes third. Ooh, a bit of work to do. 112.1. I think he must have made a mistake in that final few corners. As we see, Carl Struhl is a newcomer to this series. We didn't quite have him on the board when we started. One of our American participants, I believe. So let's see what he can do. As we see Thomas Johansson coming out of the back half of the circuit, has just put in a purple sector in sector 2. Currently 9th place. I believe this is his first timed lap. So let's see how good of exit he can get coming out the final corner. The line he goes second with a 109.42. We also have Philip Pilcher, who's a newcomer to this series, but not a newcomer to Sim Racing Online. So a stacked field tonight. I'm probably going to have to put in his details. Not sure what team he runs for at the moment. Oh, Team Solitude. That's who Philip runs. Slight lock-up coming into the back half of the circuit. It's going to be very difficult for drivers to slow down for that, but they've got to keep the. I don't know if tyre wear is going to become an issue as well. As over the line goes Philip for a 114. A bit of work to do for Philip. Let's see who else is making purple sectors. I can't see anybody making purple sectors, but let's have a look at Robin Taylor, currently on his outlap. This will give me time to put in Philip's name. So as I say, last week, Robin Taylor did start from the back due to an error in the gridding. But that didn't stop. That didn't stop him coming to the front. And obviously this circuit is very, very different to what Road America was. A lot more straights at Road America. But there's a lot more corners on this one. So the time to beat is a 1:09.2. We do have Ed Jones still in the pits, not putting a time. I wonder whether he's just wanting to start from the back and just play it by ear. Now we did see a lot of drivers just going for a one-stop. I believe that is the strategy. I think there was a couple of people that did try doing two stops, probably due to how they push their tyres, but I don't think a two-stop is going to be the fastest way round, but it depends what happens in the race. Lock up for Barrett. I would say slightly wide. That was very, very wide coming to the first chicane. But let's go on board with Barrett. Coming through the never-ending right-hander. And then having to really try and slow it down for the left of turn 6. Then up to the... seems like a very sharp turn of turn 7, but it's not. You've got to get on the throttle really early to head through what is a non-corner of 8 and a non-corner of 9, really. I'd call it pretty much a back straight. And then you really have to hold your breath, brake a tiny bit, slight lock up. It's actually purple in the second sector, and then take as much speed as you dare. And don't hit that tyre wall on the outside, because that will probably be the end of your race. So we see Barrett Ericsson that goes up to 8th place. Tony Talviti on an outlap at the moment. Currently in 4th place. He's always near the front. Also quite a spectacular driver to watch as well. You see Tony heading down into turn 1. Whoa, that's rally driving. That's not quite the way you drive these cars, I don't think, but that's very spectacular. As I say, this will be Tony's first round in this championship, so he's got a little bit of catching up to do, but I'm sure Tony likes the challenge. So you see rounding long left-hander into the what I think is the slowest corner on the track of 7, and onto the back straight. Hold your breath. Now I believe this car does have a locked diff, and which makes it probably a bit unstable over the curbs. And there was talk about setup changes and things, and of just trying to soften this car up a little. Because of course it has a very powerful engine, but so up to 2nd place goes Tony, not far from pole. That is 600th from pole. So even that mistake in turn 1 has left Tony with a little bit of margin. He's really, really treating this like a rally car, I tell you. As we see Carl Strudel just taking what is another interesting line into the chicane. I look at the first chicane being a very bad pinch point rather. As we see the clock run down to 0, I think doesn't look like there's anybody on a quicker time. Although I say that, and Nick Westy is flying. Currently 2/10 up on his best, but running this engine to his absolute maximum. Imagine he's closed all of the holes in the radiator, and I think we've just missed that Tony Tavita has just gone up to first. His final lap must have been his absolute best. And that is our grid. So, what an action-packed qualifying session. Let's check out the grid, our starting order. So the newcomer to the series, Tony Tavita, gets first, just nips it on the line by 0.1 of a second. Nick Westy second, Thomas Johansson in third, Robin Taylor last 2 weeks winner in fourth, Bjorn Hagman in fifth, Ken Jagger in sixth, Rob Milliken in seventh, Barrett Erickson in eighth, and I believe that Philip Pilcher in ninth rather, Carl Strudel in 10th, and Ed Jones I don't believe put in a time for qualifying, playing it by ear at the back. So I'm going to put a channel points redemption into chat. Who do you think is going to win? Do we have a new race winner this evening? I'm going to set it as a 2-minute prediction. Are we going to have a new race winner this evening, or will it be Robin Taylor, who starts a bit further down, but he's normally there or thereabouts? But will there be fireworks between Nick Westy and Tony Tavita out the front going into that first chicane? It's going to be very, very tight. Can Nick Westy actually make his car last the full distance? It did go up in a big ball of flame last time. So can Nick Westy make the engine last? There's lots of question marks about some of the newcomers to the series as well. So we'll see how they'll deal with this car. But there was lots of talk of swapping of setups, lots of talk of different ways to approach this car. This car is very powerful, but the tyres do lack somewhat in grip, as you would kind of expect. The engine performance outweighs the amount of grip. Just stick a big engine in it. What's the worst that can happen? What is the worst that can happen? So Portland, a 12-turn circuit. I believe that the couple of passing places we'll have to watch is the exit of the last turn. Drivers may be able to get a run on each other coming up to the turn 1. Going through that first chicane. I think the first at least sector 1 is going to be off limits, but sector 2, in fact sector 3 rather, where they're coming up the back straight, that's going to be a place to pass. So coming up to the final corner here, is there anybody going to be brave enough to pass into the fast left and right sequence? Well, we'll see. We will see. There was a little bit of door-to-door contact. Nothing too major last time out. But I'd imagine with this track, you're going to need to lean on your fellow driver a little. And you're going to need to trust your fellow driver a little as well. So a wonderful circuit, especially in the late hours lighting. It's got a good flow to it. I remember doing a lot of racing around here in the F4. I think even some NASCAR running as well. So drivers are just out for their warm-up session at the moment, just kind of dialing in, thinking about what kind of strategy they're going to go for. Is it just going to be a half-distance run, or is someone going to go for an all-out assault with a two-stop strategy? I'd imagine this circuit might be a bit harder on tyres, and there's a lot of long sweeping turns where they're leaning on the tyres. We saw a lot of people locking up, particularly into turn 1, and coming out into the final section as well. And as we've seen before, this is a standing start, so people are trying out their clutch bite points. No formation lap, just a pure standing start, I believe. Or was it a formation lap? I cannot remember. Let's just check the rules. It does say in the regulations it is a standing start. So standing start it is. As we see Tony just taking a bit more of a go around the first sector of the lap. Seconds wind down for warm up. So will Tony be able to keep the wheels on the car? We've seen that he's rally driving this car. Whether that is the way to do it. We also saw Nick Westy having a go at four-wheel drifting. So is that the way that this car likes to be handled? As we see Rob Milliken coming in the pits, done his final checks. He's probably happy with where it is at the moment. Right, here we go. 60 minutes of racing at Portland International Raceway with the Porsche 935. As we see everyone gridding up. As we see our pole man, quite a wide main straight here. Revs are rising. So 10 cars, 11 cars about to go green. Off we go, no particular dramas. Nick Westy tries to come across, bit of wheel spin. He's going to quite get an overlap going into turn 1. A lot of oversteer coming out of turn 1, however. Is Tony feeling like he needs to defend? No, he doesn't. Through the first few turns. Oh, how aggressive do these drivers feel they need to go in these opening laps? They've still... It's a 60-minute race, so maybe they've got to think of the long haul. Onto the back straight for the first time. As we see Thomas and the rest of the pack, it looks like everyone has got through cleanly. You can see Bjorn Hagman just behind Robin Taylor, our last round 1 winner. To the back straight for the first time, or the front straight for the first time. Start their next lap. As we see in the background, it looks like Barrett Eriksson was overtaking Rob Milliken there. Barrett Eriksson now up to 7th place. Someone off the road in the background, I'm not sure who that was. It looks like everyone is keeping it relatively tidy as we go on board with Rob Milliken. Coming through turns 6 and 7. Gets it nicely down onto the tarmac. Barrett has already decided that he's gone defensive, and Rob doesn't feel like he wants to even try. Looks Looks like it's very difficult to get the power down on the last corner as we see someone kicking up some dust. As we cut back to the leaders. Looks like this could be the battle for the race. Let's hope there isn't any contact. And going at this speed, will their tyres last? That is the thing. So if we go on board to see what kind of moves that Westy is making on the steering wheel. It's the nose in really early. He's scrubbing across the track quite a lot. Tony does get a good exit. But that turbo does kick in, but not. Going to need to be a bit closer than that. So the next chance is getting a good exit onto the main straight. Does hit the curb a little and unsettles the car. So I believe there is a way to turn the boost up and down, but that will depend on strategy. So sliding into turn 1. Car's very on the nose. And it looks like we do have our first DNF. Ken Jagger has actually DNF'd. I'm not sure what happened to Ken. Maybe that's a disconnection. But Tony looks like he's pulling away a little. But not quite enough. Westy is still in draft range. Maybe he did push his tyres a bit too much and is settling back. But the real battle of the midfield is down with Rob Milliken and Barrett Ericsson here. Rob Milliken does get a better run out of onto the back straight. Again, Barrett decides to go defensive and back to the right. Doesn't leave Milliken any chance to get through. It's going to be very tough unless someone makes a mistake, which is quite easy in these cars. A little bit of oversteer, a bad exit coming onto the main straight, and you are going to be really struggling. Just go back to the lead. This battle is not going to be over until the checkered flag, I think. I do wonder what's going to happen with strategy. Are they just going to follow each other with strategy? It does look like they are dropping Johansson for third. Johansson seems in a battle all of his own. But I'm sure he'll take it, a podium place, as Tony does outbrake himself coming into that final turn. Nick does the absolute same and goes a tiny bit wider. So that looked a bit like target fixation there. So we're going to go back to this battle, which is probably going to be going on for the entirety of the race. It seems that Barrett Ericsson and Rob Milliken are quite well matched. Although Barrett Ericsson managed to get a better exit onto the main straight, he managed to pull away a little. Bjorn Hagman in a very lonely fifth at the moment. He does have Robin Taylor in front of him, but he has been gapped by Robin Taylor. To the back straight one more time. So it does look like Rob Milliken is able to get up within half a second of Barrett Ericsson in the sector 2 and 3. As Barrett does make a mistake and Rob Milliken says, "Thank you very much. I'll have some of that." Let's see what happens on the straight. It's going to be a drag race all the way down the straight. So I wonder what boost settings people are running. But this might play into the fuel strategy. Rob Milliken does defend. Very nicely done. So all it took was a tiny bit of a mistake coming into that final section, and Milliken was through. This is actually the closest battle on track at the moment. But with 52 minutes gone, that's a very quick 8 minutes of the race. It is Talviti out front by 2.5 seconds. That little mistake did put off Westy behind, and it's actually worked of Talviti's advantage. He's leading by 2.5 seconds at the line. See Nick Westy. No smoking engine for Nick Westy. He's got to be very careful with his race pace. His car does look very, very loose. I don't know where the tyre wear is going to come into it as well. And after that mistake, Thomas Johansson is not far behind, just kind of shadowing in the background. He's there or thereabouts. So at the moment we're seeing lap times of 110, below 110. All the top 5 are in the low 110 area. So they're all on the pace. So we see Robin Taylor. He's only 2.6 behind Thomas Johansson. Slight lock up coming into the latter half of the lap. But the top 4 are very, very close. Within just a small mistake or pit strategy foul up. All it takes is coming into the pit's a bit hot, getting a penalty, and it's going to turn this race on its head. So turning this car with the throttle. How long are those rear tyres going to last? That's anyone's guess. So Talviti in first, Nick Westy second, Johansson third, Taylor fourth, Hagman in fifth, Milliken in sixth, Ericsson in seventh, Pitchler, newcomer to the series, in 8th, Jones in 9th, and also Stroll in 10th, another newcomer to the series. Now back. So it does look like that Ericsson has dropped behind from Milliken after that little accident. It did seem like a flurry of activity in the first 10 minutes of the race, and things have settled down quite a lot. People are thinking about their fuel strategy, perhaps. Thinking about boost versus how fast they want to go. So you all seem to be braking and turning coming into that first chicane, and then you daren't take as much curb as well, don't take a lot of it, because it looks like it unsettles the car. I don't think we'll ever see any cars rolling over, but so right aboard with Philip Pitchler. Slight luck up coming onto the main straight. It's quite deceptive, that turn. You do need to get to that apex to get all the speed coming up the back straight. There's a slight touch of the wall there. I don't think that's going to do too much damage. Looks like he's having a hard job holding on to the car. We'll look at Ed Jones out the back. Ed Jones is probably thinking up a wild and wonderful strategy. I'm not sure that the entire fuel tank can go the distance. So if you play it safe. Maybe you can get the tyres to the end. I'm not too sure, but we'll see whether anyone decides to do anything wacky with strategy. I believe it is still going to be a one stop, but we will see. As we see the last lap out, Nick Westy has put in his fastest lap of the race. He's at a 109.7, but he's dancing over those curbs. And is that Johansson with a problem? Looked like he just let Milliken bite. I wonder whether his running attempt's quite high. The engine didn't look like it was smoking, but that was very, very strange. Maybe he made a mistake in the last sector, but very slow onto the main straight. That actually leaves Robin Taylor, our winner last time out in round one, is now up to third. Plucking away there, back onto the podium. I believe the last series that Taylor was in, he pretty much was able to take the championship, even though he didn't win a single round, so consistency is key. As we do see, Tony Talviti has put in the fastest lap of the race at 109.3 last time out, so he's not hanging around. So it is the fastest lap by about 0.4 of a second at the moment. Down into turn one, still sliding the back end and having to really slow it down for the second apex. Coming up to turn 4 and 4A, that long sweeper that probably the tyres are probably screaming, saying enough, enough. To turn 5 and 6. This track is very flat as well, that it doesn't seem to be too much banking helping the cars get around. Slight dips on the apex perhaps, but that's about it. So it's kind of quite similar to a track. You'd think it would be very, similar to Silverstone, and it does look like we've had our second DNF. So that's Carl Stroll has decided to call it a day. As we go back to Johansson chasing Milliken. Oh, in fact, that's not Milliken. I knew I'd get that confused. It's the blue paint job. So coming out of the final corner, I kind of wish we could see what boost settings people were running, but over the start finish, breaking down to turn 1. Over that first curb, you daren't take too much of the second one. Like he's short shifting out of turn 2 into 3. Around turn 5, coming up to 6. I mean, he's got Taylor in sight, so he's got a carrot to chase. That was always something that I've always found very useful. When you're on your own, it's hard to keep pace, but when you've got a car to chase, you can really, really pace yourself, as it were. Slight look up from Taylor ahead. You don't take too much curbs through this section either. Just trying to get the wheels down to the racing surfaces quick as possible. Across the line for another lap. So if we cut back to the lead has now gone down to 1.5 seconds, so I'm not sure if that's... It looks like Nick West here has just regrouped and has put in some 109.7 as the last time out. So he's able to catch up again. But we'll have to see what happens with strategy. .42 minutes to go in the race, so they've only got maybe 15 minutes or so to think about, am I going to pit exactly halfway? What's the car in front going to do? how much do I want to push the fuel? See, if you push the fuel too much in the first stint, then you are going to be refilling for longer in the pit stop. So it's all a bit of a balance, really. Heading back to third and fourth. There's not much in it. Robin Taylor keeping it tidy in turn one. Maybe it was a slight mistake from Johansson coming out of the final corner. We did see that from Milliken as well. Milliken and Ericsson. Ericsson made a mistake, and it's quite easy for Milliken to breeze past on the straight with the lack of momentum. I believe there is a little bit of turbo lag in these cars as well. It's just about when on this circuit that it kicks in. Down to this final sector. Quick left and right. Staying off the curbs on the left hand side, and then trying to get the power down as early as you can. I bet that curb on the outside is very, very annoying. It just seems to get in the way. Back to Thomas as well. See Bjorn in the background. It's a very, very lonely race. He seems to have dropped Milliken, who's a further 12 seconds behind. The field is spread out quite further back. Even the top two are only within 2 seconds. I think we found this in round one as well. Things were a bit of a lull, and then it came to the pit strategy and things started kicking off a little. I thought the rest of the race was just going to be a case of everyone being too far apart from each other, but the pit strategy and certain incidents in the latter half of the race did spice things up a bit. So Tony's still putting in 109.8, 109.5 in that last lap, so he's still cracking on. Nick West he couldn't quite match with a 109.9. So they're going back and forth with fastest sectors, fastest laps. It does look like the field has spread out a little. So as I say, this is a 6-round championship. All the circuits are going to be in the US, and they're all slightly different in their own way. So this is round 2. And for the rest of the championship, they're all it's 6 rounds. So we're going to be going to a completely different circuit next time out at Barber Motorsports Park, which is not flat at all. So we're going to have to keep an eye on whether these cars are going to be very, very stable over the bumps. It looks like Westy may have made a mistake because he's now 4.8 seconds behind. It looks like it's very easily done on this circuit. Pushing too hard. Last lap time 112.3, so he must have made a mistake somewhere. So we see Bjorn Hagman he's not going away either, so I did say he was in the distance, dropping back from Thomas Johansson, but it does look like he's now within 2 seconds. So he's not far away. Maybe a lot of these drivers are playing the long game, but not wanting to use up their tyres or use up their fuel in the first part of the race, and then using everything they've got in the latter half. It's a very interesting, fast-moving chess game, I always call it, racing. Slight rise in the revs there. Probably also got to be very careful with how you're changing gear in these cars. As Tony Talviti puts another fastest lap of the race, 109.3. Wonder whether we're going to get down to the 108. Ericsson in 7th place, just coming up the back straight. What's he got cooked up? He put a good round in for Road America. He was there to pick up the pieces, and unfortunately Bjorn Hagman had a spin in the latter half of the race, or in the last 2 laps of the race. So it does look like things have settled down a bit. So with 36 minutes to go, it's Tony Talviti in first. It's going to be good points for Tony. And then we have Nick Westy in second for Black Cat Motorsports. He does have it fully sideways and see, going over the limit there. It's alright when it works, the four-wheel drift left and right, which has given Robin Taylor, his teammate, a chance to catch up. He's now within 1.8 seconds. I always wonder whether there was any kind of team orders between these two. Robin Taylor is technically leading the championship, and Nick Westy probably is not going to play a supporting role at this early in this. It's a very short championship, so if you do make a mistake early on, it can take a little while to catch up. So Robin Taylor in third. So we drop further back to this battle for 4th and 5th. Thomas Johansson, the creator of this Porsche mod, doing well in his first race in Sim Racing Online in 4th. And not far behind we have Bjorn Hagman, 3rd place driver last time out at Road America. Getting up what is a back straight or a back curve. The only straight really is the front straight. Slight mistake from Thomas Johansson ahead, who makes a big mistake, and Bjorn is through. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. And Hagman was near enough to capitalise. So that drops Johansson down to 5th. 6th is Barrett Ericsson. Plugging away. Lap times of 1:12.2, so a little bit off the pace. You can see is that a tram or a bus in the background? Haven't seen that before. And then we have Rob Milliken coming into turn 1 and 2 in 7th place. Philip Pitchler in 8th, his first round of the championship. Hopefully these drivers do stick with this series. It's always good when the same drivers can compete all through the 6 rounds. And then we have Ed Jones in 9th, and that is 9th is the last of the runners at the moment, as Ed Jones comes around at 6 and 7. Deep apex here onto the what is 8 and 9 for the back straight in inverted commas. So as 33 minutes have gone, in fact 33 minutes are left, nearly half distance. What more can Tony do? He seems to be very stable. I've not really seen too many mistakes apart from that little wobble at the start of the race, but I suppose thankfully Westy made a mistake behind. He's now dropped 10 seconds, so that's a nice pocket of time to play with, so we can probably turn the boost down maybe a little, save a little fuel. It'll be a couple of laps before he'll come up to Ed Jones just in front. I believe we may see the pit stops soon. See how much work at the wheel that Tony's doing. down to turn 7. It looks very calm behind the wheel. No too many dramas. I want to see how much wheel action there is in these final 2 curves. So heading close to the wall. Not an awful lot. Very stable on the throttle as well. Not too bad. He's still in the 109s, so he's putting up a scintillating pace. And that's Ed Jones just in front. The curves on this track, all the corners in these tracks just have numbers. There are no names. I looked up. It's always good just to confuse me when the corners have weird and wonderful sounding names. See Ed Jones just about to be lapped by the leader. One of 3 drivers for Bad Voices Racing. He does have 2 teammates in this series. Unfortunately, one of his teammates has retired, which was Ken Jagger. His other teammate is Barrett Eriksson. As we cut to him locking up into turn 1 and taking too much curve. So as far as we went through the Drivers' Championship, the Team Championship, it is Black Cat Motorsports, which is Robin Taylor and Nick Westy, with 32 points, with Bad Voices Racing not far behind with 30 points, and Flying Crowbar Racing in 3rd with 14 points. Unfortunately, it is just Rob Milliken for Flying Crowbar Racing, so it's going to have a hard job with the championship. So it's between Bad Voices Racing and Black Cat Motorsports. Again, Barrett Eriksson locking up into that final turn. I wonder whether the tyres are screaming, saying I've had enough. Best lap time has now come down to a 109.1. Tony did drop down to the 110s that last lap, but that might have been whilst lapping Ed Jones. So who's going to be the first to blink? Who's coming in first? We're now past half distance. This is the closest battle on track, which is Rob Milliken with Barrett Eriksson that's 3 seconds ahead. It's always a little bit of a balance with creating series for online racing. The historic cars do seem to have a lack of participation. I don't know whether that's just the learning curve or what. You can set up a GT3 series and you'll get all kinds of participants, but something a bit weird and wonderful with a boost parameters and such. Have to really think about strategy. Obviously, a really powerful engine, not a lot of downforce, and tyres that can't really cope with the amount of power that you're trying to put down to the track. Personally, I think it's a nice mix. I believe Philip Pilchler's been put a lap down as well. Pitchler, rather. Philip Pitchler must have made a little bit of a mistake, because now Ed Jones is right on Philip. So Ed Jones might kind of feel that he's going to grab 8th place. I don't see anyone diving to the pits. As we see Ed Jones come into the latter half of the lap, just coming up to sector 3. Philip Pitchler gets, I don't know if that's just a different line, he gets a good exit onto the straight. It's a very different line going wide into that right-hander. Sound like a very dodgy shift from Jones. It does look like he might have some pace on Pitchler. Yeah, so looking at last lap times, Pitchler must have made a mistake. 1:17.5. So he dropped about 8 seconds. Ed Jones following a 1:12, 1:11. Closest battle on track at the moment. The leader has dropped down to 1:10.5, but that obviously can be due to lapping cars. Talviti's next target is 7th place of Rob Milliken, but he's a little way away. Will we see drivers trying to go the distance? Onto the back straight for another lap. Close, but not quite close enough. It does look like maybe Ed is showing his nose into the... I think he put himself off there, showing his nose to Philip. Pitchler's making all kinds of lock-ups ahead. Coming down to turn 1. Doesn't take any curb. In turn 2, which means he's slow on the apex. This gives Ed Jones a chance to catch up. I believe you've really got to be under the rear wing coming onto what is the back. It always sounds strange calling it a back straight, but it's not a back straight, is it? We've also got 2nd place coming upon these guys. So Nick Westier is coming up to lap both Philip and Ed Jones. Ed Jones gets a really good run onto the straight. Closest he's ever been. But he doesn't feel like he wants to even try. Saw that we just had a swap of positions. It's Milliken and Barrett Ericsson are going at it again. It looks like Barrett Ericsson may have made a mistake and Milliken is back trying to get back through. Yeah, Ericsson a 1:15 last time out. Kind of lucky. I saw them swap positions on the tower there. So it looks like Ericsson must have made a little bit of a mistake, which has given Milliken another go at 6th place. So if we drop back to this battle for 8th and 9th, which isn't over, I believe that Nick Westy has passed them now. Thankfully it didn't split up this battle. It's going to continue. Ed Jones has got another run, but you're going to have to be very brave if you want to send one up the inside going into this final curve. It's going to be about mistakes, I think. Maybe putting off the driver in front so that he makes a mistake coming into that section. I think Ed Jones made it a little bit wide coming onto the straight, which meant he can't capitalise. It looks like it's more difficult to get the power down onto the main straight to get a run. It looks like the back straight is going to be where it's at. Slightly more curb for Philip Pitchler ahead, but still not giving Ed Jones a chance. Slightly wide. Slightly wide coming through turn 7. Yes, in fact it's turn 6. It goes definitely wide. Definitely wide. This gives Ed Jones a real opportunity, but if Philip defends to the inside, hugs the wall on the right, no way for Ed Jones to go through. I think Ed Jones is probably playing the long game here. want to get too close. He's lost momentum coming onto the main straight. Down to turn 1. Ed Jones locks up. As close as he's ever been into turn 1. That's Milliken off. Fortunately, Milliken has dropped it. That must have been while he was battling Barrett Ericsson as Westy is coming around to the lap. Takes to the grass. That's a shame because I think Barrett Ericsson and Milliken were quite well matched. It does look like... Is that some smoke from Milliken's engine, or is that smoke from Nick Westy's engine? One of them is running very, very hot. Maybe as Milliken has spun, these cars probably don't like to be stopped for a little while, so maybe the temps rose a bit. He's back to the battle for 8th and 9th. Pitchler with Ed Jones behind. And a little bit of a fake to the inside. Ed Jones nearly thought he was going to collect Pitchler then, I think. Saw him look up his tyres and it got a little bit of a wiggle on. I thought he felt that he was going to go into the back of This is Robin Taylor in the background coming to lap Ed Jones. Very similar, unfortunately, a very similar paint scheme to Rob Milliken. Now back to 7th place. Still not seeing any takers for a pit stop. With now only 20 minutes to go. Is this going to be a 100% no-stop race? So we see that Tony Salviti with 20 minutes to go. He's got a 7.7 lead. Coming up to lap 6th place, which is Barrett Ericsson. It does look chock-a-block. 7th going on back. So we've got Milliken in 7th. We can then drop back to Pitchler in 8th. I believe that's probably a lapping car. That is the lapping car of Robin Taylor. I wonder whether Pitchler actually thinks that might be Milliken behind. In fact, he's got Milliken in front, so I'm not sure he could get confused. So Robin Taylor should be able to pass without too much trouble. Pitchler eases off on the straight. Not quite. Not quite. It'll be pretty frustrating for Taylor. Did you see Pitchler go to the inside there? He's probably saying, Robin, just go round me. There we go, that's much better. Bjorn Hagman is not far behind this battle in 4th, so Robin Taylor being held up a little inadvertently by Pitchler. He's only 1.9 seconds behind, but now he's got to negotiate the lapped car. Maybe he will find it a little easier. Got 3rd and 4th mixed in with 7th and 8th. Is it 8th and 9th? So the lapping cars have actually split up the battle for 8th and 9th, unfortunately. I wonder whether Ed Jones maybe did overheat his tyres. Doing all that chasing. Pitchler does look like he's struggling in the latter half of this race as well. Pitchler goes to the inside and lets Hagman through. So third and fourth are really close together. It's Jägermeister versus whoever sponsors the number 73. Chase is on for third and fourth. Now, could this be revenge for Road America on Hagman, ruining the opportunity to sit on the podium for the first time? He now has the podium in sight. As he chases Taylor down the back straight. Now, brave. We haven't seen very many brave moves coming up the back straight. It's been mistakes coming into this final turn that have been the thing. So come up on the main straight one more time. And can Hagman get a run? Popping out the slipstream a little. Getting closer and closer up to turn one, but not quite close enough. Taylor does lock up a little. Which does put off Hagman going into turn two. Down into sweeping right-hander. 4 and 5. So this is going to be the place to do it. Taylor just locks up coming onto the main straight, but I think he's got the momentum. Yeah, he was able to pull away. Look at the amount of boost. So Robin Taylor defending to the inside. Quite enough space for Hagman to get a run. Let's see how well they get their power down. Taylor slightly tail wagging. Hagman gets a good run onto the main straight though. Side by side down to turn one. Into the podium position goes Hagman. Now can he fend off Taylor for that last step on the podium? First and second are quite spread out. But this battle is not over in the last 14 minutes of the race. Now I did say that the battle was spread out between 8th and 9th. It does look like there's been a swap in positions. So Pitstop has been overtaken by Ed Jones. Whether or not the lap cars coming through gave Ed Jones an opportunity. It does look like maybe Pitstop had a little bit of a slower lap that last time out, doing a 1:12.6. So maybe a slight mistake has let Ed take 8th place. Still no signs of anyone coming to the pits. I'm wondering whether maybe drivers have got their tyre wear really under control. So they're able to go the full distance, plus they've been able to work out their fuel strategy. Plus boost. It did look like either Robin Taylor lost momentum and Hagman was able to boost past, and he's actually pulling away from Taylor. So this is going to cut into Taylor's championship lead as Milliken goes wide to let what is now 3rd place through. And he moves aside for Robin Taylor as well. It's good driving by Milliken. Taylor looked like he was a bit out of shape. I thought he was going completely off the track there. But it looks like he held on to it. So with 12 minutes to go, is the podium settled, or is there still a sting in the tail? How are the temps on each of these drivers? Looks like Taylor is pushing on to catch Bjorn Hagman. No spins in the last few laps, Bjorn. So, with 12 minutes to go, it's Tony Tauviti in first. He's now got an 11.9 second lead. Still putting in fastest lap times. His best lap time is a 1:08.8, so getting down to qualifying pace. So he's saved some in reserve. And he's only got just under 11 minutes, just under 12 minutes to go. He hasn't let off the gas for this entire race. In second place is Nick Westy for Black Cat Motorsports. He's been very spectacular, throwing the car around. In some respects, it's been just holding on to it. It's spectacular, but sometimes it's been, unfortunately, a bit... he's had a few offs here and there, which has made him drop back. It's 11 seconds, so maybe trying a bit too hard. The amount of power that this car has. Bjorn Hagman has had a very, very successful race so far. He was dropped back early on, but he's capitalised on mistakes from drivers. I think it's been the latter half of the lap that mistakes have happened coming into these sweeping turns. If you lock up, you get the first one wrong, then you're chasing the car all the way to this very vital exit, and it's been this exit that has provided the most chances for overtakes. That's the last step in the podium. I think drop back to Robin Taylor, our championship leader. Probably good points for Black Cat Motorsports. Second and fourth at the moment. See whether he can still hang on to fourth, or whether there's another sting in the tail perhaps. Thomas Johansson had some great battles early on. A couple of mistakes has possibly let some drivers get away. I wonder whether he was suffering a little with maybe his tyres. Looks like there are mistakes creeping in for these guys. I'm wondering whether tyre wear is becoming an issue. But there hasn't been any tyre stops, so Road America was maybe an outlier. It may be a different story in the next round, which is at Barber Motorsports Parks. There are a lot more. I mean, it's not a flat circuit. A lot more times when you can lean on the car. Barrett Ericsson as well. He's now back up to 6th place. Rob Milliken making a mistake and letting Barrett Ericsson... It's gone up and down with Ericsson and Milliken this round. And unfortunately, Ericsson looks like he's coming home in 6th place ahead of Milliken. I think that maybe Milliken suffered a little through the lapping car phase when some of the leaders came through. And we drop back to Ed Jones, who did start at the back of the field and is able to slowly but surely pick off again people that are maybe a bit too much on the loud pedal. But I think maybe the car behind Philip Pitchler, this obviously is his first round in these cars, so maybe he's learning the hard way about tyre wear and fuel usage. A couple of mistakes has unfortunately a couple of cars through. Again, he's pushing into the last final sector. And that is the last of the finishers at the moment. 9 cars. We did have 11 starters, but we did have a couple of early retirements. As we see, it looks like Thomas Johansson just in the background of Philip Pitchler. So Talviti is not finished pushing, even though he's got a lead of 13.2 seconds. Nearly threw it away there. He's got the whole main straight to himself. Just happened to cut to him at the wrong moment when he was having a bit of a moment. He just did that. His last lap was a 1:12.3, so that was maybe more than a moment, but he's still got enough of a lead in this final. Just under 7 minutes to go. But it doesn't look like anyone has particularly feeling like coming to the pits. And, I thought that if the first person came in, maybe that would inspire others. But it seems people are going the full distance. There are only 2 choices of tyre, so either dries or wets. You don't get a lot of choice. And I imagine there has been a couple of changes to the mod as well. I don't know if tyre wear was looked at. I know that engine wear was a thing that Thomas was looking at. You can't really over rev these machines, as we saw in the last round where Westy's Porsche went up in a ball of flames. So with just over 5 minutes to go, it's still Talviti out front, 14 seconds. Westy in second. Still pushing on. Still putting in lap times of kind of mid 110s. And Bjorn Hagman is not far behind. He looks like he's been closing these last few laps, but he is like 6 seconds behind. I believe that is a lapped car in front. Yeah, that's the car of Barrett Ericsson. So we may see this gap go down 5 seconds. So we're going to keep an eye on this. I believe this may not be over for second place. So Bjorn Hagman has had something in reserve. He's 109.5 with his last lap, and he's going to get a great draft onto the straight from Barrett. Again, a 109.3, so he's taking a second a lap out of Westy in front of him. This isn't over. Although 5 seconds with only 4 minutes to go, maybe it is a bit of a tall ask. But pushing on in these last few laps. Do you settle for third, or do you try and go for second? That is the question. To the back straight. I did expect there would be maybe some moves on the back straight, but it's not where we've seen the action tonight. It's not where we've seen the action at all. So as Bjorn is coming to the start another lap. It's like there probably will be. See who the leader is. There probably would be 2 or more laps for the leader. I'll take this opportunity to try and put some provisional points in. Although things may change. So I can do this on the fly, hopefully. Just under 3 minutes to go. Tony's lead has been cut to 6 seconds. So is Tony making too many mistakes? Is Tony running out of rubber? Looks like he did suffer from a couple of track limits the last 2 laps. And he can now see Westy in the background. So is this Tony making too many mistakes in this last couple of laps? He's only got 2 minutes of the race to go. Which should be 1 or 2 laps. I think the battle for third is now done because Hagman is now in the 111s with Robin Taylor another 5 seconds adrift. As you see Nick Westy just in the background there. He's close, but I don't think he's got enough. That's unless Tony makes another mistake. I mean, you can only just see him in the distance. So much understeer coming onto the main straight. That looks like a very uncomfortable car to drive. So it does look like we're going to have 2 laps, I believe. It's going to be very, very close whether or not Tony wants to slow down for the last part, so the clock goes 0. But remember, Tony just wants to win. That was what he told us. Can he keep it all together to claim his first win of the series? Which would actually put him well up the order, only during 1 round. Come through the final few curves with only just over 20 seconds to go. Is this going to be the final lap, or are we going to do 1 more? I think we're going to do 1 more. Yeah, we're going to do 1 more across the line with 6 seconds to go. This is the final lap. Have we just seen a swap in position? Hagman has done it again. I think Hagman has made a mistake in the latter half of this race, which has let Taylor through into 3rd place. Bit of a gift from the gods there. Hagman had 1 step on the podium. Unfortunately, I think he made a mistake in that last lap. Did a lap of 1:17. So he must have gone off. That's a real shame. As Taviti comes through the final corners of Portland International Raceway. He's going to come across the line for his maiden victory in this series. So Tony Talviti comes across the line with Nick Westy in 2nd. Robin Taylor is lucky to get 3rd, I feel. Championship leader at the moment. He's probably going to maintain his lead. Hagman is probably kicking himself. He had a step on the podium as he trundles over the line for 4th. See 5th place Thomas Johansson coming through the final corners. Looks like Pitchler was having a little bit of a moment there, a lapped car. And 6th place Barrett Eriksson has already finished. Well, what a race. What a race. I'm just going to total up some of the championship points here to see if we can actually give you the rundown. So, let's give you the final total. So the session results, the race results. It was Talviti that comes away with first, Westy in second, Taylor grabs a very lucky third from a late mistake from Bjorn Hagman in fourth, Thomas Johansson in fifth, Barrett Eriksson in sixth, Rob Milliken in seventh, and good tussle with Eriksson mid-race. Ed Jones grabs eighth. Philip Pitchler is the last of the finishers in ninth, with Stroll in 10th. I believe Ken Jagger brings up the rear with an early retirement in 11th. So some quick championship points. So going to have to do quick maths here. I wish I'd brought up those. Let's have a look at the points again. So Pitchler in 9th, Ed Jones in 8th. So Ed Jones gets 22. Stroller gets 20. And Ken Jagger gets 18. Right, a quick total of points. Robin Taylor still leads the championship with 73 points. Hagman is in second with 63. Eriksson is in third with 62. Nick Westy in fourth with 60. Ed Jones in fifth with 52. Alongside Rob Milliken with 52. Ken Jagger with 54. Tony Talviti, good first win with 40 points. Thomas Johansson with 28. And Carl Stroll opens his total with 20. Good first round. Second round, in fact. We will be at Barber Motorsports Park in 2 weeks' time on the 2nd of February. That's not quite right. It's not the 2nd of February. That must be an error in date there. It is the 2nd of February. Yep. So we will be in Barber Motorsports Park in February on the 2nd. Completely different circuit to this one. So join us then for more Porsche 935 action. I hope you enjoyed the broadcast. I'll see you later.